Hey guys, it's welcome to our Tears of the Kingdom review. It's finally happening.
It came
After
out.
all this time, all this waiting, 6 years of waiting since Breath of the Wild, Connor. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it because I've been playing it for the past week.
It's here, man. It's here. It's on screen. You can see that's me following Zelda around with all my fucking hearts. I wonder what's going to happen to those.
I'm playing it right now.
Dude, oh, no way.
While we're doing this review.
I got my limited edition Tears of the Kingdom Switch right here.
We're so pathetically nerdy. How losers we are.
What do you think, Link? What do you think?
Oh, you have a Link figure? Wait, pull out close to the camera. What's he look like?
I mean, this is Breath of the Wild Link. This isn't Tears of the Kingdom. I have the Tears of the Kingdom one as well. I don't know where I put it. I think it's in my coffee table. I also have Rivali right here. There's Rivali.
He's an asshole.
Yeah, but he's probably my favorite of the original Guardians. Anyway, Rivali's Gale is now ready.
I heard that many times.
Oh yeah, dude, that stuff was great. That's probably one of the only things in this game I miss. But anyway, enough talking about that. Let's go ahead and get our thoughts together about how we feel about Legend. I'm trying to see how many times I can say about without actually getting to the point. How we feel about Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Connor, hit me.
I'm starting it off? All right, I can start it off. So, the original Breath of the Wild was a masterpiece. And when you take a sequel, generally you want to be able to make the game as good as the original, but ideally you want to improve upon it. Tears of the Kingdom is a perfect case example of that, of taking what made Breath of the Wild great, enhancing those things, and adding new elements to make it the definitive Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild universe game. Because, I think of these games as being kind of just in the same boat. I group them together, but Tears of the Kingdom has to be identified as the definitive one due to the amazing systems that the game introduces to allow freedom of play, freedom of completion of puzzles, traversal. I'm assuming I haven't done many boss fights yet because I'm currently 15 hours into the game. I unfortunately had a busy week, so I hadn't been able to play it as much as I wanted to. But I'm assuming it works the same way with bosses. It gives the player so many ways to approach situations that makes me feel more free than ever. Not only when I'm exploring the overworld and the underworld and the overworld, seeing as how there's 3 different levels to explore as opposed to just the one. Each one of them done just as well as Breath of the Wild did the main ground that you walked on in the first game. It improved upon the puzzles by, once again, using those. A lot of what makes this game great is the systems of allowing yourself to go through any upward platform, any kind of thing that's above you, and going through it to get to where you need to go easier, reversing things in motion, moving things with the Ultra Hand ability, and fusing things together to create a variety of different weapons and tools to make said traversal and puzzle completion very fun to do. The combat is the same as Breath of the Wild, because it is, at the end of the day, Breath of the Wild 2, because it plays the exact same way. The only difference is that you have those systems I was previously talking about. The glider is still here, the ability to have weapons degrade and break as you use them, so you're constantly trying to make new ones, or find new ones, but now you can make them with the fuse ability, once again leading to a greater breadth of ways to play the game. Seriously, just better in every way. If you played Breath of the Wild, you'll love this one. And those who didn't like Breath of the Wild still might enjoy this one. I hold that someone like Tavin, who notably is on the record as not liking the original game, original Breath of the Wild, knowing he's in the minority, this game just it gives you so many ways to approach how you play. And also just, well, maybe he wouldn't find it better, but who cares what he thinks? It's an amazing masterpiece.
Yeah, there are certain points of this game that I would think Tavin would like. Like, I think he would enjoy making vehicles. I think he would enjoy exploring around the world. I think he would enjoy all of those things. But then we go back to like what he was saying last week about Breath of the Wild and how he doesn't vibe with the combat. He doesn't like dealing with weapons he doesn't enjoy using. And I think weapons degrade even faster in this game. I think that's actually like true, because there's that whole thing where like they even mention at some point in the game where Ganondorf basic, or like the Calamity, or the, what are they called? The Gloom has deteriorated a bunch of the weapons, but like the shields are fine, and like it's really just like the like handheld weapons like spears, long swords, clubs, just regular swords. It's all that stuff. I think all that stuff just breaks faster.
Unless yeah.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add? Because we kind of.
That was my little spiel, I would have to say.
Okay. Then I guess I'll go ahead and dive right into mine. I, of course, Connor, had been playing a shit ton of Tears of the Kingdom. Oh my god, just incredible game. It amazes me how often I can go about something and things don't necessarily have just one correct answer. I can get to point A to point B in so many different ways. I can use a horse. I can fucking teleport. I mean, I can teleport there using one of the towers, launch myself up, glide there. I can not necessarily break physics, but use the tools they give me to break physics and launch myself there. I saw this fucking incredible video where someone threw a spear with a plank of wood on it, had it spinning, used the rewind ability, rewound the spear, hooked up a plank of wood onto the plank of wood on the spear, then unrewound, let the spear go as they were on it, and they flung themselves up into the fucking air because of the fucking clockwise spinning of the spear whenever Link throws it. Incredible. The amount of geniuses I see online making their own drones, their own fucking transforming mechs in this game. It's incredible. And then to a lesser degree, you have me, and I'll fuse my sword onto a spear, and it'll be like a longer spear, or vice versa, and I'll have just like a really long sword that I can sweep around and hit a bunch of enemies with. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the combat in this game, but I love the amount of the different combinations of weapons and different things you can combine together to take on these combat trials, not trials, because trials makes it things like it's like a shrine or something, but these encounters, I can use the tools that the game gives me, your ultra hands, your fuse, your rewind, all that good stuff in so many different ways. Like, you have these enemies that throw rocks at you, you rewind the rock, goes right back at them, hits them, stuns them, there you go wail on them. It's just incredible. And then oh my god, and I was talking to Tavin about it. I was like, dude, I've never felt so smart and simultaneously so fucking stupid in this game than whenever I was going to it might have been in, because you said you did like you were doing the Wind Temple, right? It's one of the shrines around there. There's a gate that has a door with a switch behind it. And I was like, okay, do I have to like hit it with the thing behind the door, like swing it into the switch? Literally, just pull out your fucking bow, shoot the switch through the bars. That was the fucking solution.
Mm-hmm.
I had to put the game down for a second to be like, oh my god. And then I see all these tweets about how if you're playing Tears of the Kingdom, don't worry, you're not stuck. Just use Ascend.
I saw that same thing.
Just use Ascend, and my god, it's true. Because I'll be running around. It's like, oh, how do I get up there? Oh, just Ascend, go up. There you go. Bob's your uncle.
Mm-hmm.
God, just the amount of different combinations people have done with like their shields and putting like bombs onto shields and launching themselves up in the air. This game is a masterclass in making the player feel like they're breaking the game. But no, it was all intentional in the first place. Like that's what they meant for you to do. They want you to have fun. This is the purest form of a sandbox experience. And I've never had more fun just exploring a world, putting random shit together, running around, killing enemies, solving puzzles, finding these little Koroks, delivering these little Koroks to their friends. And Jesus, it's such a great time. There's just the characters. It's the same Hyrule that we had in Breath of the Wild, but they changed some stuff around. The characters have aged up. People are doing new things. It's super awesome to get to reunite with a lot of these, not necessarily just major characters. Like I went to what's the town with the Sheikah called? What's it called?
Hatanov?
No. Kakariko.
Kakariko, that's what it is, yes.
I went to Kakariko, and then there's the fucking I ran into like the painter guy out in the wild. I don't remember if you like one of the first like shrines that you have to follow somebody to is that like painter guy in Kakariko Village. I found him just out in the wild painting a light like a scenic wildlife scene just on the easel, and I was like, oh my god, it's this guy.
It's all
This guy here.
connected. It's all connected.
It's awesome.
Man.
I've never. It's this world is so fleshed out. Like it feels so lived in, and it makes me want to live here. You know, like I want to just explore and talk to people and do all these things. My camera's unfocused. Hang on.
That was good on my screen.
There we go. That was weird. But yeah, I have such a blast going through and doing just these nothing quests. Like I'm just going, I don't know if you've talked to there's like a Pelican guy who's like a newspaper delivery guy.
Yes, I'm going to be a member of the news staff because as Link, you can do a lot of different things in this world.
It's awesome. So he's like a recurring quest giver to where if you go to each of the stables, you talk to him, he gives you a new quest, and you just you do whatever shit he wants you to do. You follow him to some place, you deliver like this band to the top of a hill to where a great fairy fountain is. You go in the bottom of a well where some lady's singing. Like it's ridiculous, and I love it, and it's so silly. And God, I don't know, have you done any of the like the memory things, like the little like there's the fuck, I just hit my mic stand. There's like the big I don't know what like they're almost like Nazca lines where like you can see all the different like if you're up in the sky and you look around, you can see some like drawings on the ground or like on mountainsides and stuff.
That memory stuff.
Yeah. So if you go over and you there's like a little pool. I don't know. Have you run into Impa in the wild yet?
Impa.
She's the former chief of the Sheikah.
No, I had not yet. Unfortunately, I was trying to do more of the story bits, but I kept getting distracted to do the shrines in the game.
That's exactly the thing, man. Me myself, I'm over 50 hours into this game, and I'm still less than halfway through this game, easily.
It is a much bigger game than Breath of the Wild because one of the things I was concerned about was the overworld is the same thing. You know, the basic Hyrule map. So I was like, okay, obviously they have the upper part, the sky, which is now accessible to you either through jumping up on towers, as you were saying before, which, by the way, they were able to make the lookout towers even more interesting because originally it was a nice experience to climb up it, see this new world, which now that you're familiar with, they changed it up by shooting you way higher in the sky in a great visual.
Just catapult you up into the air.
Literally,
it's awesome.
It is awesome. I was experiencing it for the first time, and I was, once again, feeling the same way I did when I played the original Breath of the Wild of just taking in the landscape because it gave you this now different angle that you didn't experience before, mixed in with the sky worlds that even give you greater, greater conception of what you can go and do since there's so many more things in this game because of that extra region.
This is the purest form of when a game hands you tools and you're like, oh, I wonder if I can do this. And yeah, you can absolutely do that. And just the added verticality to what was the Breath of the Wild map in the Sky Islands, in the underground, it's insane. It literally triples the size of this game.
It does.
You know, it's insane.
And going back to traversal, one of the things that sometimes happens is bits of the sky ruins will fall down to the ground. And they'll eventually go back. Well, did they eventually go back up on their own?
No, so they don't go back up on their own. If you leave, they'll despawn.
That's what happens.
But you can just use rewind and go up with them.
Whoop. And it's just a random traversal that you just kind of always take advantage of because if you're still just going on the ground level of things, you can go up high and then go on your glider and go where you need to go from there. Or you can just take a little bit of a detour towards the ruins that it'll inevitably lead up to. Which generally have shrines in them, which was one of the big criticisms of the last game, saying how the puzzles that accompanied those shrines to get upgrades or get blessings of light to upgrade either your stamina wheel or your health bar were kind of boring. I didn't really find that overall, but I can understand why some would. But
I think a lot of them, at least for me, my biggest complaint was how repetitive some of them were, like all the combat shrines. And it's like, oh, major test of strength, oh, moderate test of strength, oh, modest test of strength, just 3 different levels of basically the same trial.
Which
and it just felt repetitive, and I've never gotten bored, like, oh, this is just like what I did before. This is like, oh, this is kind of similar to what I did before, but it's a new take on it. It's like, um, have you gone to Island yet?
No, I had not.
So I just went and visited, and it's Eventide Island. But the kind of twist was nothing really got taken away from me, and it was like it was different. So that whole thing, it's still a similar, like kind of combat trial based thing, but it's not. You don't get everything taken away from me. Now, have you run into any of the shrines that basically strip you down
I
to?
have.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they do that with multiple shrines now, and I think that's better. Me personally.
Yeah, to the people that haven't played it, there's generally three types of shrines. Clue in me if there's any more that I've yet to experience. Sure. One of them is where all your equipment's taken away, and you're usually supposed to do combat bits, but only with tools that are available to you in that shrine, and that generally require you to, once again, use that fuse ability to create new weapons. Another one is the combat trials, which really just serve as tutorials and ways to, kind of get you in the mindset of doing more things with the combat system. Maybe giving a bit more.
You have it introduces you to like sneak strikes, parrying with a shield, throwing items. Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the other one, which is I think the most prominent, and the one that I want to focus on the most, which is jury rigging things to get to the end of the shrine to, get your blessings. Because going back again to the ability to create, weird contraptions, whether it be just a simple hook with a board underneath it to go on rails and zip around, or creating using wind turbines to attach them towards some kind of vehicle with wheels on it. To put them on rails that I was talking about before to just shoot through and guide yourself across the map. And I think I have to make a claim of, maybe this will change, but I don't see it doing. This is the best puzzles in any non-puzzle game ever made. And I say that because a lot of the times when I play puzzle games, there's usually a way you have to do it. And it's a goal of getting to that point. Portal 2 being most prominent among them, especially because we just played that, which you can watch our review of that on the Big Game Club. I usually don't do shout-outs, but there's one. But in this game, I feel, as you said before, I feel so smart completing shrines, but so stupid, because I think to myself at the end of it, when I complete it with whatever crazy way I do it, I don't think this is the way the game intended to, but clearly it allows you to do so.
Right.
And it just makes it's so freeform, and it makes it where I'm not trying to find the one way to do it. I just can do it as I see fit, or any angle that I perceive to finish the shrine, I do it. And more often than not, I'm able to accomplish it. When in other games, it would make you fall and fail. The original Breath of the Wild being an example. Yeah. And it makes those shrines extremely fun, knowing that you have this unique, interesting puzzle to tackle that on its own is good, but you add your own ingenuity to it, and each player would be different, and they can solve it in a variety of different ways. I don't know if I even completed most puzzles the correct way, but I completed them.
I'm right there with you, man. This game, I mean, it's like jazz, It's just doing whatever you think works, and it works. It's
a good way to put it.
Yeah. I was kind of memeing, but it's true.
Freeform jazz.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the most notable times where I feel smart is whenever I'm able to come up with my own solution. It's like, oh, I don't need to do it this way. I can just do this. I can. There's most notably, I think one that I've heard talked about the most was this shrine that had a bunch of rails. I think there was one that had two sets of rails, and it was running along this like little path, and then it went around, and then it was just one rail or one set of rails. And so what I did is I took they gave you a bunch of stone platforms, stone blocks, right? So I made like a little platform, like a long one, and then on the ends of them, I put platforms going perpendicularly so it would hold on to the rail, and then one in the middle for whenever it switches to the one set of rails, it would just still be able to guide itself, and I had it propelled by wind. And it was like, oh my god, this is so smart. But I've seen people do the thing where they turn their shield into a skateboard using a minecart, and I've seen these. So they do something similar to what I was doing, but they don't do anything perpendicular. They just have the one board, and they balance out on the two sets of rails. Then they get to the one rail, and they jump and then they fucking skateboard onto the rail all the way to the end. And it's like, I tried to do that the first time. I was like, oh, I'm not skilled enough to do this. I can't. I gave it a couple tries. I was like, I can't do this. And then I came up with my contraption to like hold on to the rails. And there's just something so cool that I love about the community vibe to this game, you know, where like you can look on social media and it's not, people aren't spoiling things like you would expect for like a story based, like a narrative based game.
Really not.
They're just showing, hey, this is some cool shit that I made. This is how I solved this problem. This is what I did here. And there's something so cool about that to me. And it's remember whenever in like elementary school you're meeting on the playground with your friends and you're talking about these games with your friends. It's like, oh, did you see this? Did you do this? That's what this is, man. And it's just a huge, massive version of that. And there's just something so cool about that to me. And it just makes it warms my heart, dude. As mushy and stupid as that is, it makes me feel happy. You know,
Yeah, I mean, it's the coming together of community over, as you said, it brings back those memories of just hanging out with your friends and saying what your experiences were with the new video game. But
yeah,
on a wider scale, because everyone's playing Tears of the Kingdom.
I mean, if you're not, you might as well just bury your head in the sand, you know?
Stupid idiots only don't play this game. But what about the depths? I haven't explored the depths all that much, but it's definitely the more hardcore way to play the game.
Yeah. So it's kind of scary down there.
Mm-hmm,
like a little bit. Like one of the first ones I went down in, it definitely is not one of the first ones that it shows you. It was just this random Tavin saying that he's here, listening to us talk.
I hope he's here.
He's just here listening. He missed us bagging on him and talking about how he might as well just bury his head in the sand. Anyway, but so as far as like the deaths goes, one of my first experiences with it isn't like there's that one guy that kind of like looking down in the middle of Hyrule Field, like in the opening like bit as soon as you get down. I didn't go down there, but I tried to, but I died very, very, very quickly because I didn't have my paraglider yet. But I went down and I was like, oh my God, it's so dark. I can't see anything. All I see is like the faint red glow of all these things. I found this huge fucking Coliseum. Yeah. And I went in and I was like, oh my God, I should not be here. This is scary. And I think that's probably one of my, this leads into probably one of my biggest kind of criticisms of the game, and that has to do with the combat and kind of what I was talking about it before, and that is just there's a moment towards the end of the combat encounter in the Colosseum where it just kind of gives you either more enemies or harder enemies to deal with, or like stages of that. So like the first one, it's like, oh, 3 bokoblins come by. Second one, 1 blue bokoblin and 2 regular red bokoblins come by, and they're slightly harder, right? And then there was this one asshole that was shooting like exploding arrows, 2 like black bokoblins that were super tough, and 1 like just silver bokoblin that was super fucking hard. And I think I can't count on my hands how many times I died to that combat encounter, just banging my head up against the wall. And it's just the fact that I would spawn in. It would show that they're released, but they would get to move before I was even allowed to move. So like I couldn't get away from them before they were just heading towards me and closing the distance super fast. Like they came in super fast, and I was moving the stick, but it wasn't letting me control Link. You know, and that's probably just like, I don't know if that's just how I like a result of where I was standing whenever the thing triggered, or I don't know, but it felt kind of unfair. I ended up winning because I'm a gamer and I'm a fucking beast at this game. I ended up beating them because I don't give up on combat encounters like that. And, you know, Link just had to die like 15 times.
Trial and error. He's the hero of Hyrule. But true. To your end of that criticism, one thing that happened twice so far in my playthrough was I would die in a combat encounter, but it auto-saved beforehand, so I would appear right in that same combat encounter. One of them was on a horse, which kind of takes a little bit to get started up, and so every single time I would spawn in, I just get shot with an arrow and die. Because I had like no food and low health at that time because it was early in the game, and it was just a little bit of a frustrating moment just for, you know, something that's pretty logistically easy to solve, just not auto-save right before combat, which... It seems like, I don't know if it just auto-saves at random times, but it just screwed me over in that way.
There is like an autosave that happens. I think it happens whenever you like enter a new area, quote unquote.
Seems to be.
Or like
Yeah.
if you make like a discovery, like when it tells you like, oh, discovery or whatever,
Mhm.
it auto saves there. But that was just it just has to do with I'm not a huge fan of like the actual combat itself. I love what they do with you being able to create your own weapons and tackle these situations in different ways. I just wish that the mechanics of the combat itself were a little more in depth. Like they had expanded more on it. Like I don't know, maybe if there was like a dodge roll or something like
Mhm.
that. I know that's just me. Like that's like the Elden Ring me in here. Oh, I feel like that would just make me worse, and I'd be panic rolling all over the place, and I'd be out of stamina even faster because I feel like it would have to be tied to stamina. Yeah,
Of
just like a
course.
dodge roll. Like that's the only way you could make it work.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was one of the only things in this game that I felt I wasn't a huge fan of.
Yeah, and to that point, the only area they didn't improve upon from the original Breath of the Wild is the combat, as you were saying.
Mhm.
I'm not a defender of it because I can clearly understand why people don't like it, but I enjoy
Right.
the combat. But it didn't. Besides the fusing elements, it didn't do much to revitalize that. It really focused on all the other areas, such as exploration, puzzle solving, and customizability.
And
Which
that's where this game shines.
it is where it shines.
Is the traversal, exploration, um just putting you in a sandbox and being like, "Hey, go play." You know? Just it's like you're a little kid and your parents drop you off at the playground. Go ahead, go on the slide. Go on the swings, just do your thing.
And then I'm good.
And
I'm
that's
just
it. That's all you
easy
need.
tool.
God.
I will be playing this game for. So it was notable because recently I admitted that I had not beaten Breath of the Wild because I
Mhm.
kept getting sidetracked. I beat it now, so I'm a justified reviewer of Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not a hack.
You
But
know who hasn't beaten Breath of the Wild?
the guy who has he's never said he's a hack, but we all know he's a hack.
I mean, he's not just gonna come out and say it, but I feel like
He's
he
not.
knows. He in the chat says bite me.
uh,
Um anyway,
what was my original point? I was going to say
um
something.
you were going to say you were gonna say it was gonna take you a while to beat this, but you
Yeah.
will end up beating it, I think.
Yes, because I'm just going to get sidetracked. I already see it. I see it
Right.
now from where I am, and it's just going to go more and more and more. I guess one other criticism I have is the main temples are
Mhm.
better than the divine beasts, but it's still kind of the same function where you're just finding certain, contraptions to unlock the mechanics to
Mhm.
go further in the shrines. But once again, I'm only 15 hours in. I haven't even beaten one of the main shrines yet. Oh, obviously the tutorial one, but who knows how much that's similar to the actual
Yeah.
rest of the shrines.
Um
You might know more.
the temples. So I do think that they're better. Um Mainly just because of the tools that they give you are
Hmm.
better in this game than they were in Breath of the Wild. So I was able to like I did the I've already done the wind temple and I did the fire temple last night.
Okay.
And um I was just there I was not doing things the way I was supposed to, but the game was letting me do it, so it was satisfying. And I was, oh, I beat it this way. So like
Mhm.
I was cheesing the ascend ability. I was using these little they give you like a fire hydrant at some points where you can just
Ah.
spray water. And so I would go under, there's like a locked room where like I'm sure you're supposed to do something and hit the switch somewhere at some other point. But I used the fire hydrant. I made like a little obsidian block because like water onto the lava, like made like a little rock thing. I jumped onto the rock thing, went underneath with the building I was supposed to be, and hit ascend and went through.
Mhm.
And then I just did it that way, and I just felt like a fucking genius doing all that. And this game just does a fantastic job of that. Like I feel like I'm a broken record because I've said it like three
Mhm.
times already. But yeah, I feel like an idiot who is really smart.
This game makes me feel like a physicist, and I enjoy it for that.
Yeah,
I'm
just
so
trying
smart in
new
this game.
things.
I'm so intelligent, but not really. If you saw me playing the game, you would quickly understand that.
God damn. Yeah, I think the only word that comes to mind whenever I think about trying to describe this game or like trying to review it is has to be a masterpiece. This is a masterpiece.
If I thought that way about Breath of the Wild, I have to think of it about this way.
Exactly, because Breath of the Wild, of course, is it's a masterpiece, but this just improves upon it in any way to the point where looking back at Breath of the Wild, I was like, I don't think I want to play Breath of the Wild anymore. It's like the Toy Story Andy meme. It's like I don't want to play with you anymore.
And to be honest, I'm right there with you because And once again, it just takes what made Breath of the Wild so good and made it better.
Yeah, you just you take the Sheikah slate, and then it has all the abilities on it, and it's I don't want to play with you anymore. I have Ultra Hand, Fuse, Ascend, all this good stuff.
I do have to give a send off. I don't really. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really care that much about the abilities in the original one. Like they're not bad at all, but
Right.
they're good.
They
But
were
the
good
one
for
that
they were good for the game that they were made for. You know.
Yeah, I sorely miss the bombs.
I do
wish
miss
they
the
were
bombs. I like the bombs, but I think the bombs they give us they're serviceable. I don't think they're as good as the bombs in Breath of the Wild, but they work to like the same effect. You know, you got your bomb flower, which I think is harken back to like Skyward Sword, where like you would do like bomb bowling, but you don't. To my knowledge, there's no like actual bomb bowling in this one. Not any that I've actually tried to experiment with. I wonder if you could actually roll a bomb and have it blow up whenever it hits something. Now I'm curious, but they have something similar with like the Zonai tools, which we haven't even talked about.
Well, you're not.
With like the time bomb, and there's so many different ways that people are using these bombs on like their shields to give them extra height. People are just throwing them like regular bombs. People are I don't know where I was going with that, but you know the Zonai tools in this game, they just open up an entire. It's just another page, you know, like another page into the encyclopedia that is this fantastic game. You got like I think just being able to make a little flying machine, which I just hits my lizard like little kid brain. Like I just wanted to fly as much as I could when I was a kid playing video games, and because I think I was just a big I was like obsessed with dragons as a kid, and so like just me being able to make a little plane and fly around and I can put a little cannon on this plane and fucking just take stuff out. And the little control stick thing that you can make and put onto items and stuff is so cool. Like
I have yet to get to that device.
You haven't gotten that device?
I know it exists because I've seen a lot of the contraptions that I haven't been able to make. Other people have been solely because you have to upgrade the charge that you have access to, which allows you to use these devices for longer periods of time. Particularly, the most prominent one I would say is the fan, which these devices you can carry and drop whenever you desire to build basically whatever you want at the time. And there's a bunch of stations across the map that are built just for allowing you to like pieces of wood, wheels, bars, things like that you could use to, you know, make your vehicles on a moment's notice.
Before this game, I would have never thought that a fan could be so versatile. Like you could use it in so many different ways.
Who would have thought? Just a fan.
Honestly. Have you seen people are like just cool looking stuff or people are like putting the flame emitters onto boomerangs and just having like fucking spinning fire at people? It's so cool. So neat.
I'll be happy to play more of this game and create more contraptions.
Absolutely. No, I'm super hyped. I'm not like super creative like all these people on Twitter are making these fucking mechs and like someone literally made like a fucking Gundam.
Yep. I haven't seen that, but I'm not surprised.
Insane.
Let me see.
I saw one where someone made like a drone and like a sky flying drone and then like a ground like robot like rolling drone, and so it was the ground drone and the air drone attacking a bokoblin camp and just reducing it to rubble. It had to have been against the Geneva Convention of I don't know where that stands in Hyrule. I don't know how that works, but there were some war crimes being committed in that bokoblin camp. Like,
but who cares about those guys? They're literally evil, and they get revived when the blood moon hits. So,
is the blood moon happening a lot more often for you?
It seems to.
It seems like it's happening a lot, and I'm not complaining because I'm all for like having like all these bokoblins coming back and getting more and more resources from them, because that's just more stuff for me to put onto a stick and hit them harder with, you know. Like I take their little horns, put it onto a stick, and I can hit them harder with their own flesh and bone.
They're really brutal, but they're brutal themselves, so they don't get any quarter. Oh well.
God, Connor, like we both have said so far, this game is a masterpiece. Highly recommend, if you are not playing this game, absolutely play it. If you enjoyed Breath of the Wild, you're going to love this game, and you're gonna join the team that we're on, and that's that. There's no reason to go back and play Breath of the Wild. Just play Tears of the Kingdom, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason.
Well,
Besides the fact, oh, it did it first. Who gives a shit?
I
Who
don't
gives
care.
a shit?
Someone does out there. Some nerd.
Somebody has to. So I do you have anything else you wanted to add to this? Because I'm pretty confident in I
You know
just
what?
I love how we've been talking about this game, and how I love that this game came out and that it's fucking fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if this game came out and it's not the way it was, I probably would have been disappointed. Like if I didn't feel about it how I feel, and that it is definitively better than Breath of the Wild, I probably would have been disappointed.
Thankfully, you are not, and neither am I. And now, my one last point I would say isn't even really about Tears of the Kingdom, but I will. It's a perfect time to say it. Well, Tavin's not here to talk into our ear
Well,
and say his stupid
I mean,
things.
he is here, but you know,
But it's basically like he's not. I don't see him, don't hear him. He's seen but not heard. Well, no, he's not any of those things. But at least Tavin, at least he was respectable enough to come out with an opinion that would, even though it crucified him, is the braver thing. Because to be honest, what's more interesting, having the same take as everyone else, or having the interesting take, regardless of the quality of it or the correctness of it? It's the matter of saying your opinion regardless of the reasons why. Which
that's
ultimately
not to say Tavin's not being a contrarian. He legitimately just is not a fan of Breath of the Wild. He's not just going against the grain just because everyone else loves it. He's voiced his opinion on it. You can go check out his 2023 Breath of the Wild review. At this point, it would have come out a week. No, when did he put that out? I don't remember when he put that out.
Monday?
It was about a week
I think it was
ago.
last Monday. Yeah, I believe.
Okay, well, yeah, I think that's a pretty good video. We recorded that on the last piggy bank. And yeah, I think he put into words some decent some decent opinions he put into that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I understand where he's coming from, and I've always thought that I've never thought that Tavin was a contrarian for the sake of being a contrarian. You know, he's just different, and everyone has their own opinions, and you know, you got to respect it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
even though some people are just wrong.
And it happens. Someone's always going to be wrong.
It's
And
true.
this is just
And
one of those
at this
cases.
point, it just happens to be Tavin.
And it'll be me
it's so
next week.
often Tavin, and you know, at some point you think he would realize that he's just wrong about certain things, and he would eventually realize how wrong he is about most things. But anyway,
oh well.
we digress. Thank you everybody so very much for tuning in to this Tears of the Kingdom review. I mean, maybe you were playing Tears of the Kingdom while you were listening to this, while we were gushing about it and talking about our feelings on this game and how much it kicks ass, relatively. Connor, do you see any game coming out other than this becoming the game of the year? Because I think this definitively is my game of the year, and I would be hard pressed to see if a game surpasses this on my personal list anyway.
There's definitely room. A big reason for that is because, as amazing as it is, how much of a masterpiece it is built off the foundations of Breath of the Wild and doesn't do much. Like, even though it does things to radically change it, at the core of it, it is the same game. The framework is definitely the same. So, on the basis of that, I would say that there's other ones that are new and completely, foreign to me that can come out this year. That can.
Gotcha. So you're framing that as a bad thing.
Not a bad thing. More just like when comparing to other games that come out this year for what might be my definitive game of the year, it might be something else. We'll have to wait and see for what games come out. But it'll be
it is
high.
only May. We still have several games coming out this year. This is 2023 is I've said this about almost every new release, but it's no longer shaping up to be a banger year. This is a banger year for video games.
It could.
I know Tavin brings up a good point. Spider-Man's coming out, but I don't see Spider-Man surpassing this game for me. It would have to do something I know I love Spider-Man. I loved Miles Morales. I love 2018. I don't know what there's a, in my eyes, Spider-Man is like a known quantity, and if they deliver on what it is, it's gonna be great, and I'm gonna love it. But it's not gonna beat Tears of the Kingdom.
Well, wait until Final Fantasy 16 comes out, and then you'll be eating your words.
There we go. Okay, we'll see. I think the only thing that would have to I might sound like a broken record, and like repeating what other people are saying, but Starfield, that would have to be like a massive, I don't know all that stuff, like everything about Starfield, about like what's going to happen with it, but it would have to blow my fucking socks off.
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
But we'll have to wait and see. That's right, Connor. If you have nothing else, if you have no other further ado, I think I'd say that's a review, baby.
That's a review and a game of the year contender.
Most definitely game of the year contender. And once again, thank you all very much for tuning in to our Tears of the Kingdom review. Hope you're having a great time with the game. Hope you're having half as much fun as we're having with the game. Because even that's a lot of fun.
It is.
But once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.